Oh no, it's happened again, but this time it was almost a direct head-on collision with a lightweight helicopter. Hi, I'm Ash from DroningON, and not long ago we reported on the incident between a drone flown irresponsibly right beside an Emirates A380 during takeoff. Well, just yesterday a video unfortunately surfaced from a different drone operator posted to his own YouTube channel, and we are deeply concerned. Especially as the YouTube channel owner doesn't seem to think that he's done anything wrong. The video shows what is said by the drone operator to be a DJI Mavic Platinum hovering just off the coast of South Hollywood Beach in Florida. He pans the drone to the left while stationary and then starts to fly the drone in a southern direction, at which point a helicopter just comes into view. Despite the manned aircraft being very visible to the drone operator if he's looking at his FPV feed, it continues to fly directly towards it, making no evasive manoeuvre at all. The helicopter passes almost directly underneath the drone with clearance of just a few meters. The operator then randomly pans the drone in the opposite direction, where the helicopter is shown continuing on its journey. The scenery is beautiful without question, but the drone shots and the way it's flown are not well coordinated. The movements are rather erratic and incompetent, and it seems that this drone operator was simply on an exploration mission, which almost resulted in disaster. Just as with the Airbus A380 incident, this footage appears to be entirely legitimate, and being in 4K means that we can analyse it pretty easily this time. The background is alive with movement, cars and people, plus the helicopter is immaculately detailed, far beyond any simulator or otherwise. If anybody out there does think that this is simulator footage, do us all a favour, get your simulator open, record a video and put it on your channel, give us a link. The helicopter itself looks to be a Bell 407, which interestingly is fitted with a camera on the front, a kind of surveillance module which you wouldn't expect to see on your average private chopper. In fact, precisely the same module is seen fitted to this Bell 407 GT military aircraft. Therefore, we suspect that this might either be a news or media, military or even police aircraft, but we can't find any trace of it or its colouring online, and so we can't be sure. If you're local to the area, do comment below with any thoughts that you have regarding that. Some have commented that the drone should have been sucked into the rotors as the helicopter passes. Well, the drone was only just above the tip of the outer edge of the rotor and therefore probably wouldn't have suffered any such effect, particularly due to the speed at which the helicopter passes and also with the forward motion of the drone. It would of course have been a very different story if the drone had been under the helicopter as it passed. You can see the shadow of the helicopter moving across the water as it approaches. The shadow appears to be in line and of the same direction of the shadows within the scenery of buildings and other objects. In addition, the rotors are spinning but appear to spin very slowly due to the rolling shutter effect, which also gives them a slight curvature when the video is paused. We don't see any obvious signs of masking or compositing the helicopter onto the background, and so we don't doubt the authenticity of this footage. Drones in the USA should not be flown above 400 feet. Now this is not yet law as it has just become in the UK, but if people keep abusing drones then the USA and other countries will face the introduction of that law as well. In his video description, the owner states that he was flying below 400 feet and we do believe him. In the footage we can see three large buildings. The closest wasn't actually built at the time in Google Maps, and so we can just see the building site, but the smaller building next to it belongs to the Beach Club Hotel, and as per a quick Google search, that building is about 440 feet tall. From the altitude of the drone, it is clear that the top of that building is above the drone, probably about 40 feet actually, and so therefore we'd estimate that the drone operator was indeed flying at or just below 400 feet. However, drones in the USA should not be flown within 5 miles of an airport, and Fort Lauderdale is a big one. Remember that no-fly zones are not the decision maker as to whether you should be flying a drone in an area. They are guidance only, and as you can see here on the DJI no-fly zone check, the green outer perimeter for this area is a warning only area, unfortunately. Always check airspace maps or even phone your local air traffic control and they'll generally be happy to help. So let's look at an airspace map for this area. You can see the large purple circle with SFC, stands for surface, /40 written within it. That means that from 0 AGL, above ground level, up to 4,000 feet is controlled airspace. The drone was moving during this shot, which is just off coast, but we estimate its position to have been roughly here, based on the landmarks before and after the pan. If we now overlay the airspace map, you can see that the drone would have been within the controlled airspace, and therefore definitely should not have been flying there, even if under 400 feet due to the 0 to 4,000 feet controlled airspace boundary. Controlled airspace is there for good reason. When flying your drone, don't breach it because you could end up in prison. And finally, the drone operator himself comments that he was flying the drone from a few thousand feet away. Now that is strictly against the regulations set out clearly by the FAA on their website, which state to keep your drone within line of sight. Many question the point of this regulation. Well, this video demonstrates it perfectly. If this operator was flying his drone with the drone in his visual sight, he would have heard and also spotted the helicopter long before it almost collided with his drone. He could have descended out of its way and avoided the near miss, and that's why the regulation is there. So please abide by it, because otherwise you might end up responsible for an accident where lives might even be lost. Drones and manned aircraft are not equal in the air. The regulations and recommendations that apply to drones do not apply to full-size aircraft, and rightly so. These manned aircraft have people on board, and consequently lives are at risk if something goes wrong. Drones must always give way to full-size aircraft. In our A380 video, we talked about the consequences of a drone strike with the A380 aircraft. Now that is a substantially sized plane, built to withstand bird strikes through the jet engines. In fact, it has redundancy as well, and can even fly with one of its engines out. However, a far lighter aircraft like the Bell 407 impacting a drone weighing almost a kilogram, with both travelling at high speed towards each other, has the makings for problems. The impact of a drone into a very fast spinning main or rear rotor blade, or with the windscreen or other parts of that helicopter, would cause damage, and probably also a lot of shock to the occupants of the aircraft too. It could prompt the helicopter to have to emergency land, and as we reported last year on a drone impacting a ruggedized military aircraft, it did cause significant damage. That helicopter was armoured, but of course this one isn't. Now just imagine that you and your family are inside that helicopter on a holiday flight treat. Would you shrug this incident off as not dangerous if your kids were on board? I doubt it. A drone isn't a fragile bird which can easily be disintegrated. Instead, drones contain metal, plastics and volatile batteries which do cause damage on impact. And even if the aircraft survived the impact and carried on, it isn't just fine because somebody's got to pay for the damage to that helicopter, and it's costly damage too. In terms of whether the helicopter was permitted to have been flying where it was at 400 feet, yes, as long as it had permission of air traffic control to do so. It's also worth adding that under aviation law, the aircraft should be at least 500 feet from people, vehicles and buildings. It may be at only 400 feet in altitude, but from the beach it's at least 500 feet. Now sadly, these videos will become more and more common until drone operators start to take responsibility for their flights. Please follow these simple, basic rules, regardless of where you are in the world. Keep your drone in sight. Consider other aircraft in the skies and be aware of them when flying. Stick to the regulations for your country. And please have responsibility and accountability for your actions. If you do crash into a manned aircraft, you will be found by the authorities, and your life could change substantially as a result of that. Comment below with your thoughts, give this video a thumbs up or a thumbs down, and of course subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Thanks for watching.